that's actually so small and trivial is something that in that moment becomes our own puddle of piss. He says, a fly sat on a straw on a puddle of donkey piss. Full of pride, it lifted up its head. I am the captain of this ship, master of this ocean. Of course, one of the great insights of Rumi is that every character that we encounter is us. We are the fly, we are the straw, we are the wind, and we are the puddle of piss. We are the bystander, and we are the ones laughing at the fly. So we ourselves are the source of our own suffering, and inside our own being is where we have to find the light. This has been Omid Safi, reading for you from the Radical Love collection. I thank you for your time.
You are listening to Tapestry on CBC Radio 1, on Sirius XM satellite radio, on podcast and online at cbc.ca. Picture the local barber shop. If you were able to eavesdrop, hiding behind a chair maybe, what kind of conversations do you think you'd hear? Lorenzo Lewis says for Black men, the barbershop is a place set apart. So it's the perfect setting for them to talk about something other than hair. Lorenzo's idea, healing conversations about mental health.
Targeted to opening up access to mental health treatment and resources, just teaching tools of resilience and just really having that safe space to talk about everyday life and how we navigate through that journey.
And what gave you the idea? Why a barbershop?
I like to say that I'm a advocate by trade, a mental health advocate with such a long tenure in behavioral health. I wanted to figure out the best way to really reach men. I went to the schools. Of course, I traveled to churches and did work. But when I tried the barbershops, I thought back to when I was a kid and I grew up in my aunt's beauty salon. And after school, I would go there and we would, after I would just be in the beauty shop with a bunch of cosmetologists. But it was one barber there that was employed, and that was my first mentorship relationship. And just the relationship that we were able to form brought a lot of just great advice and the ways that I was able to become a young man there in the beauty salon, but of course, the barbershop as well.
And what was this fellow's name, your mentor from back in the day at your aunt's beauty salon?
His name was Sylvester, actually. His name was Sylvester. Of course, he lives here in Little Rock. And, yeah, he was just an awesome guy. And would really, pick me up and put me in his chair and would just really challenge me to just to understand who I was. And, it's really important as a young man, and he actually really gave me a lot of ways to just understand, how to be productive and how, of course, to navigate here in society. So at such an early age, that relationship was cultivated in the beauty salon. And I thought about, beyond the shop, I said, what if I can bring this same energy to a barbershop, but also to talk about mental wellness?
And have you been down this road yourself? Have you had to deal with any mental health troubles in your own life?
I tell the story that I was born in a prison. My mom birthed me in prison. So being incarcerated at that time for her, I always say that I was born into a world of identity. And just navigating through my later years in life, I eventually lost my mom and dad. And almost becoming a part of that prisoner pipeline at the age of 17 and having another chance at life, I was able to not only be on the side of destruction, but also I ended up working in behavioral health for about 10 years as a mental health tech. And as a mental health technician, I was just entry level, but I was also able to really build and cultivate relationships with patients in the hospital. What I realized is my own experiences not only looked at like their experiences, but I thought about where I had been as well. So my journey really mirrors the story of the Confess Project, and that's how the Confess Project was birthed.
And we haven't talked about that yet. Tell me what the Confess Project is.
So the Confess Project is a program that, again, targets African American men of color, ages 10 to 40, with mental health awareness and education. It plays a big role with schools, higher education institutions, and through those different programs, we're able to make such an impact, not only by meeting the people and meeting men where they are, but also by providing a approach that gives them that space to really talk and to be open as young men and older men as well.
For people who might be listening and just know of the barbershop as a place where you go when your hair is getting too long, full stop, that nothing more profound happens there. Can you tell me a little bit about the role the barbershop might play?
Organically, the barbershop has always been a staple, and how it has been put in the communities, as well as just being this place of going to get hair treatment, a shave, but also it has become a gathering place all across the country. Guys are looking forward to getting off work, leaving school, and you have such a variety of individuals from ages 10 to 40, and really to think about why is it so important for young men, and particularly black men. If you think about lack of fatherhood in our community, it's so important that we have just, barbers there, right? And to talk about how barbers can not only play the healthy relationship, but it plays a mentorship role. And it also, it's the person that you go to when you want to feel good about yourself. You talk about, politics, manhood. It's so many conversations that come up in one space. And it's just a place to get it all out for men and to really not be judged, ultimately.
And it sounds like it's not a coincidence that this is also the place where you look better walking out than you did walking in. Yeah. It sounds like that's not just a cosmetic thing on the surface. What does it do for you when you're looking good?
It gives you just so much great confidence to navigate through your daily life. It also gives you a lot of poise and conversation that you can have with others. You feel more capable to go and apply for a job. You feel more capable to socialize with others. By giving you that haircut, it really changes the dynamics of just the way that you view yourself, the way that the world view you.
So do the barbers get any kind of special training? Is it just that this guy is a good listener, or is there some therapeutic training involved there?
Yeah, so we've implemented a advocacy training that we're just now starting. We started off really doing just organic conversation. And then, of course, we realized that the barbers held the power in the barbershop, ultimately with their clients. And we said, well, how is it that we can put barbers in a position to take this conversation through their clients back to local communities, to know that we had to scale that. While doing that, we created the Barbers Advocacy Training. So we allow barbers to become mental health advocates. It's a very, I would say, a low grade, a way that you can train on compassion, empathy, just integrity of others, and in a place where it's a lot of foot traffic, it is it's already a comfort zone. And to think that by amplifying that, it's able to get us great results.
Now, that's an interesting point, that there's a lot of foot traffic. Do you think it makes it a more comfortable space because it's crowded?
I always tell a story when I was in Memphis, Tennessee, and we began to do our talk, and it was like quiet as a mouse. You could hear a penny drop. It was really, really crowded in that barbershop. To this day, I kind of wonder why was it so quiet. And I believe sometimes, depending on the way that you approach the conversation, and I realized we have to start by telling a story of hope. I like to tap into my stories of how I was able to navigate through depression, how I attended therapy. That brings another face to the conversation. Ultimately, as practitioners in the field, talk about data is important to give to the community, but we have to relate. And by relating with a story, I realized that their barbershop there in Memphis, I didn't really relate with a close story. And I think about the other ones, I did, right? And I got better responses. So they have to know that you all are, on the same page, and that they know that you've been there as you're talking to them about something that's quite difficult.
So Memphis was quiet. has there been a kind of resistance among other barbers and hairdressers when you first approached the idea? Are they nervous about this as an idea?
Yeah, when I first started, we don't want to talk about, mental health, or I don't know how our clients will receive this. So we got a lot of pushback, and there for a moment we was pretty idle. We wasn't moving, and all of a sudden we were able to get a couple of participants on board. And what really helped us, we had to film the actual event. And we filmed it, and we were able to spread it through social media. We spread it through barbers, and it was like, yeah, this is what we want to see.
Tell me about a time when a barber has asked the right questions. I'm interested in what those questions are. If a guy is sitting in the chair and he's really hurting and he doesn't know how to open up, tell me about a moment when you've seen the barber do this right.
How can I help you? And he began to say that he had lost his brother a couple of months before in a shootout, and that he was still hurting and that he was still going through this. But he said by hearing this conversation, it really helped change his mind. He said it really had brought his heart to a place to know that he needed to talk to somebody, that his insomnia and staying up all night was a result potentially of depression or going through these cycles of anxiety, that he was having bad dreams. And he said that by seeing this in motion, that he knew that this was something that he needed to reach out about. And he was really thankful. We was able to give him some brochures of local providers, and he was like, I really want to go visit these people. I really believe that this is what I need to do. Thank you all for just being here, and man, just thank you for saving my life.
Does it ever happen? Have you ever seen it happen that the guy in the chair says, "Leave me alone. I'm just here for a haircut"?
Yeah, and and sometimes I actually see that. Over their face, I could tell sometimes when it's certain gentlemen that's not wanting to be bothered. I've even seen in surveys, we have a questionnaire on our survey, and some would even say that, and I don't need this, so these are services that I don't need to navigate. That's fine. I've had gentlemen say, well, I know somebody who else needs this, or this guy that I know, he's crazy, he needs this more than I need. And that's fine,
So he'll share that information with his pal, yeah. The guy he calls crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, I think it can even be used as a referral program, because simply we're giving out information. We're talking about the different stressors, stress management, self-care. How does that look?
Why do you think men shy away from talking about this stuff? I'll ask you about black men in particular, because that's where you're
Mm-hmm.
working. Men
shy away from this, particularly our community, very deep-rooted spiritually. We've been taught to pray, and we know that is a great part of how we navigate. And again, it's necessary. The other part of this is our masculinity. And not only as men have we been taught to not cry, but we also have been taught we can only show anger and rage. And by doing so, it has created toxic masculinity. It's even shown that, hey, it's not okay for me to vent, and for surely not cry in front of others, right? And I think that creates a negative look. That look has really tainted our vulnerability and being able to talk out about how we feel and how we can, reach that place of wellness.
You mentioned something about being taught to pray a minute ago, and I didn't really follow it. Do you mean that's people think that that's enough?
In our African-American community, the church is the greatest place where we get our strength. And we understand that by that, our, generations have taught us that is where, we take things to the altar. We take things to, pray it out. But we've not been taught to practically take advantage of our wellness. Now, I must say that I'm proud of a lot of churches. I've seen churches now implementing mental wellness across, D.C. and different places on the West Coast, and even here some in the rural South. Not as much, but I believe clergy members and churches have to understand how important mental wellness is, and even having those services available for your members